On Christmas Eve, a billionaire single dad discovers 5 life-changing words from a homeless woman. Tom Walker stood alone in the bustling streets of downtown Chicago, a titan of tech wealth surrounded by holiday cheer that felt miles away. The skyscrapers sparkled like stars, each light a reminder of lives filled with joy, while laughter bounced off the concrete, taunting his solitude. As he stared at a family taking photos, his heart tugged painfully for his young son, Max, who was missing the warmth of family traditions since his mother's passing. The holiday he once loved had turned into a gilded cage, filled with meetings about mergers rather than moments of magic. Guilt hung heavy like an unwelcome ornament. He was physically there but emotionally lost. Pushing through the crowd, distracted by thoughts of contracts and obligations, Tom's world narrowed. He nearly missed the figure on a bench, Clara, her weathered coat a stark contrast to the vibrant colors surrounding them. She radiated quiet strength, her eyes filled with stories untold. Stopping briefly, he almost turned away, lost in the chaos of his mind, when her voice called out gently, breaking the spell of his corporate armor. "Hey there, sir! You look like you could use a moment of connection." Her words struck him. What was connection to a man with millions? But curiosity pulled him closer. As they spoke, Clara shared her heart-wrenching journey. A series of unfortunate events had swept her family away, and the hollowness of each holiday without them gnawed at her spirit. She spoke of love, loss, and above all, hope, the kind of hope that flickers even in darkness. "Your wealth doesn't define love," she said, her gaze piercing through him. The moment hung in the air, filling the space between them with a truth that sent shockwaves through his carefully constructed world. Suddenly, the contrast of their lives felt stark. How could he have spent so long believing riches equated to success when love and connection were left in the dust? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Clara's words echoed in his mind, Tom felt a crack form in his guarded exterior. The city was a winter wonderland, and yet he had lost sight of what truly mattered. A deep ache for Max settled, ignited by the realization that the holidays could again be filled with warmth if he chose it. Torn between the corporate ambition that drove him and the longing to embrace the son he'd been neglecting, Tom knew he stood at a crossroads. As Christmas morning approached, the heavy toll of inevitability hung over him. His latest deal promised exponential wealth, but robbed him of time with Max. The weight of societal division pressed down, urging him to rethink priorities that felt so ingrained. Hope flickered like the twinkling lights around him, but would it be enough? Could he step back from the brink of success to embrace the simple, heartfelt love his son craved? With one last glance at Clara, her quiet wisdom guiding him, Tom took a deep breath, ready to make a choice. The clock was ticking, and a critical decision loomed ahead. How would he shape this holiday, and could love truly conquer all? The frigid air bit at Tom's face as he finally turned away from the crowded street, his thoughts racing like the icy wind. He glanced at his watch, the minute hand crawling as the night deepened. The company gala awaited him, but the cheerful atmosphere felt like a tether, a chain that wrapped tighter around him with each passing second. He had always looked forward to this event, seeing it as a stepping stone to secure more clients and bolster his empire. Yet tonight, it appeared as nothing more than a distraction from what truly mattered. The bustling crowd reminded him of those awkward childhood parties where he tried too hard to fit in, but this time, he had no one to impress. He needed to focus on Max. With newfound clarity, he turned back toward the bus stop where he had met Clara. He needed to see her again. Could she provide guidance to help him navigate this uncharted territory of family and self? As he approached the bench, Clara stood, shaking the cold from her bones. She was shocked to see him back. "You're still here?" "I needed to find you," he said, his voice steady yet vulnerable. "I've spent years building a life that is supposed to be perfect," yet he paused, searching for the right words, while the truth bared itself openly. "Yet, I've neglected what really counts." Clara nodded slowly, her expression softening. "Sometimes, it takes losing what we think we want to find what we truly need." "Max is my son," he said, his face flushed with urgency. "And I want to be there for him. I don't want another Christmas missing from his life." "Then don't miss it," Clara said, her eyes sparkling with conviction. "Make the choice now. You could start a new tradition, bring him front and center, let him know he matters more than anything else. Give him a reason to believe in magic again." Tom felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes, an emotion he had long suppressed. Clara continued, "It's never too late to start over. A simple moment can rewrite years of loneliness." As she spoke, he could envision Max's face, the boyish laughter echoing like bells. He could almost see the joy leap into his son's eyes if he returned to him not just as a father, but as a partner in Christmas joy. Tom took a deep breath, feeling a rush of exhilaration. What if we start a new tradition together, the three of us?" "Three?" she asked, a glimmer of curiosity alight in her expression. "Me, you, and Max. You've taught me so much in such a short time. I think we could make it something special. We'll volunteer, share stories, something real, something alive." A smile broke across Clara's weathered face, illuminating her features. "That sounds like a beautiful plan. Could we do it tonight?" he asked, his heart pounding at the prospect. "Why not? It's the perfect night for it," Clara replied, her laughter mingling with the distant sounds of carolers. As they stepped away from the cold bench, something inside Tom uncoiled, leaving behind the shadows of self-doubt. He grasped Clara's arm lightly, the bond they had formed now more than chance. Together, they began to journey toward a warm cafe where hot cocoa and shared stories awaited them. But as they walked into the blending warmth of the cafe, Tom felt a nagging thought. Could he truly rewrite the past? Could he create a future that was not just about wealth but warmth? What if, in the process of giving to others, he ended up discovering parts of himself that were lost long ago? The cafe door swung open, and as they stepped inside, the cozy warmth enveloped them. But outside, snow began to fall, blanketing the world in white as if waiting for a miracle to unfold. And as Tom looked back, he wondered, was it too much to hope for a change of heart in a single night? Would this Christmas offer him the chance to redefine everything? Would love conquer the bones of his empire, or would the old ways cling tighter? He held his breath, the tiny flicker of hope fighting against the growing chill. What lay ahead in the coming hours? Was it too late to reclaim their joy? As they entered the cafe, the smell of freshly baked pastries wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of laughter and busy chatter. The warmth wrapped around Tom like a blanket, easing some of the tension knotted in his shoulders. He caught a glimpse of the cheerful decorations, the strings of lights that twinkled like stars, and the garland festooned over the counter. But the real glow in the room came from Clara, her smile bright against the backdrop of seasonal cheer. They found a cozy corner table by the window. Tom settled in, unable to shake off the high stakes of the night. Clara ordered hot chocolate topped with whipped cream, and he followed suit, his mind swirling with possibilities on how to involve Max in this new venture. "So what is the plan?" Clara asked, stirring her drink thoughtfully while her gaze remained locked on him. "I want to do something different this year, something that brings us closer," Tom said, excitement building with each word. Maybe we could help at a shelter, serve dinner together. When he sees the smiles on those faces, it might bring him joy, show him the real meaning of Christmas. Clara sipped her drink, letting the warmth envelop her. That's a beautiful idea, Tom. It makes it less about presents and more about presence. He nodded, feeling a swell of gratitude toward her for lighting a path through his disarray. But a thought nagged at him, a reminder of the shadows lurking in the corners of his life. I'm still scared. What if I mess it all up? What if it's too little too late? You won't know until you try, Clara replied, her voice calm and steady. We've all got our fears, but that shouldn't hold us back. Lean into the moment. He studied her face, a comforting presence amidst his fears. It just seems like everyone else, they have it figured out. I feel lost. Maybe that's the first step, admitting you're lost. The journey begins there, not with knowing all the answers. You've taken the hardest step by opening your heart tonight. Tom chuckled, but it was soft, filled with both appreciation and skepticism. And here I thought I was just coming for cocoa. Their drinks arrived, and he took a deep sip, feeling the chocolate warmth spread inside. Moments passed as they shared ideas, the conversations like a soft symphony, building hopes for a better holiday. The cafe buzzed around them, but Tom felt almost cocooned in this new reality. Suddenly, Clara looked serious. I just realized, what is your main goal? Getting Max through the holidays? Or bonding with him every day after? The question hit him, and it settled heavily. Tom opened his mouth, but struggled to articulate his thoughts. I want both. I want him to believe in magic again, in Christmas and in me. I want to be the dad he deserves. Then focus on the magic, and the rest will follow, Clara said, her eyes meaningful. Tom smiled, a flicker of hope igniting. Outside, the snow fell heavier, brushing the world into a cozy white. Regarding tradition, Clara said, breaking the spell, we need to do this tonight. It can't wait. As their conversation deepened, Tom couldn't ignore the tiny ache of longing. What lay in store? Would he really be able to take the leap and invite Clara into their lives? Would Max open his heart to her too, or would the ghosts of their past make it complicated? With each laugh and each heartbeat, the night felt pregnant with possibility. Yet, the shadow of his old life loomed just outside, watching, waiting. No longer could he gaze into the abyss of his own fears. He needed to act. But would tomorrow shine a light on his hopes, or would it catch them in the dark? How long could he hold on to this moment before it frayed? As he pondered, Clara's voice pulled him back. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve. Are you ready for magic tomorrow? The glimmer in her eyes promised something bigger than just a celebration. But could he embrace it? Could they all discover joy not just in that night, but in every day thereafter? An unexpected question lingered in the air. What if the true magic of Christmas required more than just a leap? What if it demanded a total transformation of heart? The snowstorm intensified outside, swirling through the streets and softening the chaotic world as Tom and Clara sat wrapped in their own bubble of hope. As the cafe around them pulsed with laughter and the occasional clink of cups, Tom felt the warmth seep deeper into him. What if we created some Christmas magic of our own tomorrow? Clara suggested, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Maybe we could surprise Max with some decorations when he wakes up. That sounds perfect, Tom replied, picturing his son's smiling face as he dashed down the stairs to discover the twinkling lights and garlands. It felt right to do something fun, especially after everything they had been through. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, building on ideas for their new holiday traditions. They discussed cinnamon rolls for breakfast while they opened presents, the idea of a family game night, and even new recipes they might try together. For Tom, it was a breath of fresh air and escape from his insecurities. The more he talked about it, the more a spark lit within him, pushing away the shadows he'd carried so long. But, as always, the lurking fears crept back in. What if it's not enough? What if the past what I did taints everything? Tom, Clara's tone was firm but gentle. You have to believe that tomorrow doesn't he have to be a reflection of yesterday. It's a new day. A chance to rewrite a story that has yet to be told. He studied her, searching for the unshakable calm she emanated. You make it sound so easy. She shrugged. It might be simple to say, but living it is the hard part, isn't it? Tom's heart raced as he considered how much he wanted to be that man for his son. The father who showed up, who cared, who worked through the mess of their lives. Wasn't he prepared for the swirling doubts to keep invading his mind despite Clara's encouragement? What if Max doesn't he want this? What if he has too hurt to trust again? Then you show him that you're there, Clara replied softly, and that you'll stay no matter what. It's not really about proving yourself, it's about being real. Just then, the cafe door swung open, letting in a blast of cold air. A fleeting figure wandered in, bundled in mismatched layers, snowflakes clinging to her hair. Tom watched as she shook off the cold, her eyes scanning the room, searching. A sudden realization tugged at his heart. There was a strength in her vulnerability that resonated with him. Clara glanced in the same direction, her expression shifting into concern. She seems lost. Tom nodded, feeling the weight of the season wrap around him again. What would it take to rekindle joy for someone who appeared so disconnected from it? Suddenly, he felt a pull to help not just Max, but this stranger. He slid from his chair, propelled by instinct. Tom? Clara's voice broke through his focus. I'll be right back, he promised, stepping toward the woman. He approached cautiously, aware of the world around him shrinking into a singular moment. Hey there, he greeted, offering a soft smile. Are you okay? Her gaze flicked up to him, revealing a vulnerability that mirrored his own struggles. Just trying to find a place to warm up. It's really cold out. Tom's heart clenched as he thought about the power of a little kindness. Why don't you join us? He hoped Clara would understand, hoped this small act could spark the change he desired both for Max and himself. A connection, a shared warmth in what seemed like a cold world sometimes, that was all it took. As the woman hesitated, he could feel the weight of tomorrow's challenges pressing against his chest. Would welcoming this stranger into their lives open more doors than just the ones to their hearts? What would Max think? In that moment, everything hung in the balance. It felt like a crossroads, a new beginning, or old fears clinging on. As uncertainty loomed, Tom realized he might just discover more than the magic of Christmas with this choice. Would he dare to share this moment of humanity, or retreat back to what felt safe? Clara's gaze followed him, and in her expression, he saw a glimmer. A belief that made him pause. What would he choose? As the woman stepped closer, the air crackled with promise, ready to unravel either joy or lingering regrets. Thank you, the woman said softly, stepping closer. There was a fragility in her voice that tugged at Tom more than the brisk air around them. Really, it's no trouble at all, Tom replied, trying to exude warmth against the chill. As she moved toward him, he caught a glimpse of her face illuminated by the cafe's golden light. Her eyes were wide, searching, almost calculating, as if debating the merit of this unexpected companionship. Are you sure? She hesitated, her gaze darting toward Clara, still seated at the table. Tom could see Clara's expression shift from surprise to understanding, a silent assurance in her eyes. Yes, he confirmed, stepping aside to invite her in. I promise you'll be welcome. As she approached the table, Tom noticed the subtle way she carried herself tentatively, like she was still trying to define her place in the world. Clara smiled gently, motioning for the woman to take a seat. I'm Clara, she introduced herself, her warm tone wrapping around the woman like a cozy blanket. Julia, she replied, brushing a stray curl behind her ear, a gesture that felt both vulnerable and strong. She settled in, the tension in her shoulders loosening as the warmth of the cafe began to seep in. "What brings you out on a night like this?" Tom asked, curious about her story. He couldn't help but feel a connection spark between them. It was as if their paths were meant to cross in this moment. Julia glanced around, her fingers curling around the steaming cup of tea Clara placed in front of her. "Just trying to figure things out." Her voice trembled slightly, and Tom felt that familiar urge to reach out, to help in any way he could. "I lost my job a month ago, and things have been hard." His heart sank for her. "I can only imagine how tough that must be." She nodded, the shadows of struggle flickering across her face. "I've been trying to find work, but the holidays make it even harder. People don't want to hire anyone before New Year's." A heavy silence settled over the table, but it was the kind that ignited empathy rather than despair. In that moment, Tom recognized something significant in her eyes, a yearning for connection, for understanding. Clara leaned forward, her enthusiasm evident. "What kind of work were you doing before this?" "I used to work at a bakery. I loved it." "Creative? A space filled with passion," she answered, her expression softening, drifting into memories. "But when I lost my job, I lost my way too. What if we could help?" Tom ventured, emboldened by the conversation. Clara shot him a questioning look, but he pressed on. "There is something about your story, Julia. We need people like you in the world." "Tom, you're not promising too much, are you?" Clara threw in gently, concern flashing in her gaze. "Not at all," he assured her, then turned back to Julia. "I could use someone dependable at my own business. It's a small office, but we're looking to expand. If you're interested." Her eyes widened. "You'd really consider that?" She looked at both of them, hope mingling with disbelief. "Absolutely," Clara chimed in, warmth radiating from her. "You have talents, Julia. You shouldn't lose hope." Julia's heart surged with an emotion she hadn't felt in a long time, but as quickly as it came, uncertainty crashed in. "You don't know me. How can you trust me?" "Because we all deserve a second chance," Tom replied, his voice steady but filled with a conviction that surprised even him. As the conversation flowed, Julia began to share more about herself, each revelation drawing them closer. Tom realized that in reaching out to her, he was simultaneously finding a way to bridge the gap in his life, fostering the very magic that Christmas represented. But doubt still lingered. What if this connection was fleeting? What if he'd opened up his heart too soon? As the night continued, he felt the weight of those unspoken fears trying to creep back in. "So how do you think you'll decorate for Christmas?" Clara asked, her eyes glistening with excitement to lighten the mood, but Tom could sense the underlying tension, looking at Julia, who now had a hint of warmth blooming in her cheeks. He could only wonder, could they find joy together, or was this moment just a brief interlude before potential heartbreak? As the cafe filled with laughter and music, Tom's mind reeled with anticipation and apprehension. Tomorrow could change everything. But what if everything was already changing right now? The warmth of the cafe surrounded them like a thick, comforting blanket. Clara sipped her tea, her eyes dancing between Tom and Julia, her heart clearly invested in this budding connection. Julia seemed to feel the shift, a fragile smile breaking across her face as she leaned in, hungering for more than just sympathy. "What about you, Tom?" she asked, her voice slightly steadier. "What do you do?" Tom hesitated for a moment, searching for how much to reveal. "I run a small marketing firm," he finally admitted, waving a hand dismissively. "Nothing fancy, but we're doing well enough. It helps keep the lights on." "The lights on," Julia repeated, her brows furrowing as if grasping at a broader idea. "But you make a difference, don't you?" His heart quickened. Was that what he did? Making a difference? He had been so focused on deadlines and profits that a part of him had forgotten the joy of creation, the thrill of change. The way Julia turned her thoughts into questions was like watching a painter mix colors, blending shades, until something beautiful emerged. "Yes," he found himself saying. "I guess I do." "Do you enjoy it?" she probed, passion flaring in her eyes. Tom sighed, feeling a mixture of truth and self-discovery in her query. "Not as much as I used to. I think I'm losing myself in it." Clara's eyebrows lifted in surprise at Tom's candidness, but Julia's expression only deepened, as if she could see right through him. The connection was growing, and with it came a comfort that both thrilled and unnerved him. "What about the holidays?" Clara interjected, keen on shifting the focus. "Any traditions you hold dear?" Tom chuckled lightly. "We usually decorate the office." The memories flickered in his mind, a poorly hung wreath, mismatched ornaments tossed together in a hastily thrown-together display. "It's about as festive as it gets." "Maybe Julia could help," Clara suggested with a wink, her enthusiasm lighting up the room. Julia's cheeks flushed again with the idea. "I'd love that. Decorating a workplace could bring some holiday cheer." Tom marveled at how quickly Julia's spirit brightened at the thought. That glimmer of hope in her eyes felt infectious. "How about we give it a try?" he said, allowing a spark of excitement to flicker within him. As they discussed ideas, laughter bubbled up, spilling over the table, lifting the weight of past burdens. Tom couldn't remember the last time he felt so energized by the prospect of change, and looking at Julia, he felt something deeper than just a connection. It was the stirrings of a friendship, a possibility. But why him? Doubt clawed back into his mind, overshadowed by the growing warmth in his chest. "What if this gets complicated?" he muttered under his breath, though he couldn't help but steal glances at Julia, catching moments of her laughter, her quiet intensity. Clara must have sensed his turmoil. "What is on your mind, Tom?" Her voice was gentle, coaxing. "They say people come into your life for a reason," he began, hesitating as he wondered about the truth of that. "But it's just weird, you know. I barely know Julia." "And yet, you're willing to take a chance," Clara countered, her eyes soft with understanding. "Sometimes that's all it takes." Julia looked between them, a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty pooling in her gaze. "I don't want to disrupt your life. I feel like I'm just an outsider." "No one's an outsider here," Tom reassured her, grappling with the sudden boldness. "You're part of our stories now. We all need a hand sometimes." That small confirmation, as simplistic as it seemed, held the weight of something profound. Julia smiled brightly, tilting her head slightly, as if contemplating how her story intertwined with theirs, how three strangers could begin to forge something meaningful on the cusp of the season of giving. But shadows lurked in the corners of Tom's heart. Would this fragile connection endure beyond the cheerful decorations and shared laughter? Tomorrow, everything might feel different. Would they tumble back into solitude or draw closer together? The cafe buzzed around them. But they were cocooned in their own moment, a bubble of hope hovering warmly as they shared dreams, fears, and laughter just inches above the red-checkered tablecloth. As the door opened with a jingle, a breeze swept in, and with it came a sudden chill. The laughter softened. Tom caught sight of a solitary figure shuffling by outside, a homeless woman among the busy holiday crowds. His heart sunk as her story flashed briefly in his mind, one he wished to lessen with kindness. He found himself torn, the warmth of their table pulling at him to stay, while the world beckoned at his conscience. What was he truly willing to do for others? He realized this might be the moment everything shifted. But as he looked back at Julia, a part of him wondered, had he already changed more than he thought possible? The thought blazed brightly against the cold night outside. Tomorrow could bring ripple effects he couldn't predict, and he couldn't help but wonder who else might cross their path next. Tom felt the warmth of the cafe seep into his bones, but the chill from outside lingered in his thoughts. The fleeting image of the woman, alone and invisible to the bustling crowd, nagged at him. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was meant to take action, that there were opportunities to make a real difference just outside the door. "Hey, is everything okay?" Clara's voice broke through his reverie, laced with concern. He glanced at her, then at Julia, who sat across from him, her brow furrowed in thought. "Yeah, just thinking," he admitted, though it felt like a half-truth. Clara leaned in, resting her chin in her hand. "About what?" Tom hesitated. The homeless woman? The way life had piled so much on him these past few years? "About what really matters during the holidays," he said finally. "Like?" Clara encouraged, her eyes bright with interest. Tom leaned back, scratching the back of his head as he tried to frame his thoughts. "Sometimes I think we get so wrapped up in our own lives, our struggles and ambitions, that we forget to look around. There's a lot of need out there." Julia nodded slowly, her gaze softening. "You're right. It's easy to forget that not everyone feels the warmth this season brings. Some are genuinely alone." "So what do we do?" Clara asked, her voice shifting from concern to curiosity. "How can we help?" Tom looked from Clara to Julia, feeling a flicker of hope surge within him. "We could put together some care packages, blankets, food, maybe even a warm drink." A smile broke across Julia's face, the idea igniting something in her. "And we could hand them out. Not just at the shelters, but right here on the streets." Clara clapped her hands together. "I love that. We could turn it into a little project, invite friends, make a real difference." Tom's heart swelled. They were lighting a spark he thought had been extinguished in him. A sudden rush of optimism washed over him. "Let us do it then. Let us start tonight." As they brainstormed ideas, he could feel a sense of camaraderie rising between them, something genuine and hopeful. This wasn't just about decorations anymore. It was a chance to give back, to connect more deeply, and perhaps to embrace the spirit of the season more fully than he had in years. But he also felt a twinge of anxiety. What if we run into problems? What if it doesn't go the way we hope? Like that woman outside, what if some obstacles were too big to navigate? Then, that as part of the process, Julia replied, her voice steady and unwavering. "You can't predict everything, Tom. You just have to be willing to try." Her conviction resonated within him, pushing back against his doubts. "You're right," he said, gracing her with a grateful smile, the urge to reach out to others intertwining with the growing bond between them. After deciding on logistics, they clinked their mugs together, creating a little celebration in the midst of a shared resolve. Yet, as they laughed and planned, the memory of the homeless woman outside echoed in his mind. Why had her image settled so deeply in his heart? Was it the stark reminder of how life could change in an instant? Or was it something else entirely, an invitation to rediscover his capacity to care? The weight of the questions lingered as they wrapped up their meeting. Clara stood first, glancing at Tom with a playful grin. "Tonight is not just about the packages. It's about making memories too." Tom smiled, knowing she was right. This moment, the three of them together, sharing dreams, marked the start of something beautiful. But just as they arrived at the door, excitement thrumming in the air, the dinger above chimed again, revealing a shadowy figure outside. Tom's breath caught, recognizing the homeless woman from earlier creeping away further down the street. There she was, slipping through the night as if she were part of the very fabric of the cold winter air. "Wait!" he called out instinctively, a sense of urgency rising within him. As he stepped outside, his heart pounded louder with every stride toward her retreating figure. What if their paths were meant to cross tonight for a larger purpose? But would she be willing to accept help from a stranger? He felt electricity course through him, and his resolve sharpened. He couldn't let this moment slip away. The pull of something bigger than himself had begun, and he was ready to find out just how far it could take him. And as he moved closer, he realized that he might be on the verge of uncovering not just a connection, but a truth that would change everything. What would happen when he found his voice? Would he discover the answers he so desperately sought? Tom's breath came in quick bursts as he hurried towards the woman, the sound of his footsteps muffled against the soft, damp ground. The air was thick with anticipation, a feeling that something significant was about to unfold. She turned slightly at his call, her hair a tangled mess, and for a brief moment, their eyes locked. She looked wary, as if expecting yet another disappointment in a long line of them. Tom felt his stomach tighten. What could he possibly say to make her feel safe enough to stop? What could he say to make her believe he truly wanted to help? "Please," he said, trying to keep his voice even, "I want to talk to you." She paused, but only for a moment, glancing back at the shadows that loomed around her. Tom's heart sank. Who could blame her for being afraid? Life had taught her to be wary of kindness. "I saw you earlier," he stammered, his palms suddenly clammy. "And I just wanted to know if you need something." The streetlight above flickered, casting an eerie glow on her face. She looked older than he first thought, with lines of hardship etched deeply around her mouth. "What do you care?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, laden with suspicion. "I care because no one should be out here alone, especially not tonight," he replied, feeling a flicker of determination. "I'm trying to help a little. You know, with blankets, food, whatever you need." She studied him, eyes narrowing. He could sense the walls around her harden further. "You think that's enough? A couple of blankets?" "No." He shook his head, frustration bubbling to the surface. He paused, willing himself to gather his thoughts. "I know it won't fix everything, but it's something. It's a start." For the first time, her expression softened just a fraction. "You think doing something small will change anything? You won't fix my world in one night, kid." He felt a mix of hurt and understanding wash over him. "I'm not trying to change your world all at once. I just want to show you that someone cares." A silence stretched between them, heavy and raw. Tom could feel his heartbeat echo in his ears as he waited for her response, anxiety gripping him tight. He could already picture Julia and Clara waiting inside, full of excitement and hope. Would he stand here and let that moment slip through his fingers? "What's your name?" he finally asked, desperate to break through the barrier. "Lila," she replied, her voice like gravel. "I'm Tom," he said, a smile almost breaking through, trying to instill some warmth into the tense moment. "And all I'm asking is for a chance to help you tonight. Just a little bit of kindness." For a heartbeat, Lila appeared lost in thought, her gaze drifting away from him, as if considering the weight of his words. Tom could feel the fast rhythm of his own heart, echoing the fear of rejection, but also the hope of connection. "Kindness, what is that worth?" she asked, half mocking, but there was an edge of curiosity in her voice. "More than you think," he said softly, taking a cautious step closer, trying to convey sincerity. "It's worth more than a blanket. It's about recognizing that we're all human, we all have stories, and we all need someone sometimes." Suddenly, he saw a flicker of emotion in her eyes. Was it hope? Or just resignation? Before he knew it, she took a deep breath, then nodded slightly. "All right, Tom," she said. "Show me your kindness. But be warned, it won't be easy." As the fog enveloped them in the chilly air, Tom felt something shift inside him. This was not just about handing out care packages or fulfilling a holiday project. This was about raw humanity, the connection he had hungered for. "Will you come with me?" he asked, extending his hand as an invitation, but instead of taking it, Lila looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You don't know what you're getting into," she warned, a hint of a challenge hanging between them. Tom exhaled, his heart racing. "Then let us find out together." As they began to walk, he couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change, not just for Lila, but for him too. Would they uncover the deeper truths they sought, or stumble upon walls that would prove impossible to break? With the night wrapping around them like a heavy blanket, he knew they were on the edge of something profound, and he could only hope that Lila's 5 life-changing words would lead them to a greater understanding of what mattered most. But what revelation awaited them on this journey, and would they be ready to embrace it? Fog clung to the streets, thick and cold, as Tom and Lila walked side by side, an uneasy silence enveloping them. Tom could feel a mix of excitement and apprehension coursing through him. Lila moved with tight shoulders, like a coiled spring, every step measured, cautious. What had he gotten himself into? "Where are we going?" she asked, glancing at him sideways, a hint of distrust still evident in her voice. "Just to a nearby park," he replied, his heart pounding as he focused on the path ahead. "It's quieter there, maybe we can talk." "Talk?" she repeated, the word heavy with skepticism. "That is your plan? To talk?" "Yeah," he said, swallowing hard. "I want to understand your story. Everyone deserves to be heard. And I want to help." Lila stopped, suddenly turning to face him. "Help? Do you even know what that means?" Her eyes were fierce, challenging him. "You think a few words and some supplies will change my world?" She shook her head, anger seeping into her voice. "You don't know anything about me." "Maybe I don't," Tom admitted, feeling the weight of her gaze. "But I know enough to see you're hurting. I've seen hardship. And I want to be there just a little." "Don't make promises you can't keep," she interrupted, her words biting. "You're just another white knight thinking he can save the day. Go home before you regret it." The sharpness of her tone hurt, but he couldn't back down now. "Regret? I'm already out here, aren't I?" he replied, desperation creeping into his voice. "I'm just asking for a chance to understand. No more, no less." Lila's expression softened, just a fraction, but it was there. For a moment, he caught a glimpse of vulnerability behind the steel walls she had built up. "Okay," she finally said, her voice suddenly quiet. "But you wouldn't like what you hear." Tom drew a breath. "I'm ready." They resumed walking, the tension slightly dissipating, replaced by an uneasy camaraderie. The park loomed ahead, the shadows casting long figures on the ground. Tom felt a heaviness in his chest, a mix of hope and trepidation. As they reached a weathered bench, Lila hesitated before sitting down. Tom followed, sitting beside her, but leaving an inch of space, careful not to invade her personal bubble. The air felt charged between them, every beat of his heart echoing with anticipation. "Why are you really doing this?" Lila asked, her eyes never leaving his. "You're too young to care this much." He let out a small laugh, light and nervous. "You think I'm just some naive kid?" "Seems that way," she countered, but there was a flicker of amusement in her voice. Tom shifted, unsure how to explain the tug at his heart. "I guess it all started when I realized how lucky I am. And I can't sit back and ignore the world around me." "You're a person, Lila, not just a story or a headline." "Open your eyes, kid," she said abruptly. "You have no idea how this world works. You play your part, and you think you're making a difference. But you'll just end up more lost than you are now." "Maybe," he admitted, "but I have to try." "Isn't trying better than standing still?" Silence fell between them, thickening the atmosphere. Lila's gaze drifted to the ground. "You really think I have a story worth hearing?" "It's your life," he replied softly. "It means something." For a moment, he saw something flicker in her eyes, a hint of the woman that lay beneath the guarded exterior. "Fine," she said, breathing out a tremor of acceptance. "But don't say I didn't warn you." Tom leaned in as she began to speak, her voice low but steady, like the first raindrops before the storm. And as her story began to spill from her lips, each word a thread unraveling the fabric of her life, he knew they were stepping into a reality neither had expected. Was he ready to hear the truth behind her struggles? Would it change their lives in ways they couldn't imagine? With her first sentence, he felt the world shift, opening doors to understanding, forging connections where none had existed before. And as he listened intently, he couldn't shake the feeling that this journey was only the beginning, a prologue to a story yet untold. But what truths would emerge from Lila's past, and would they be strong enough to bridge the gap that separated them? The air was thick with tension as Lila looked down at her hands, the weight of her stories settling around them like the chill of the winter night. I used to have everything, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. A home, a family, a job I loved. But things fell apart. Tom leaned in, his heart racing. What happened? Lila swallowed hard, a shadow crossing her face. My parents died in a car accident. It was like a light had gone out. I was lost, and to cope, I made bad choices. I thought I could drown my pain, but all it did was drag me further down. Tom felt a pang in his chest, a mirror to his own struggles with loneliness and grief. I'm so sorry. She nodded, the fight in her eyes faltering just a little. I lost my job, my friends. I had no support, no one to help me figure out what to do next. So, I just disappeared into the streets. He wanted to reach out, to comfort her somehow, but he understood these walls she'd built were layers thick, not meant to be breached easily. But you're still here, he said. You're fighting. Fighting? She chuckled, a sound that had no humor. Or just surviving? There's a difference. Tom shook his head, feeling a warm surge within him, a fire igniting whenever he thought of his son. Surviving is still something. It means you're here, and you've found a way to carry on. Lila glanced up, something flickering in her gaze. That's easy for you to say. You have a life, security. You don't know what it's like to fall off the edge, to lose it all. Her words echoed painfully through him. He could relate to the concept of loss, though not in the same way. But standing in this moment, he understood the desire for connection and the yearning for hope that sat just outside reach. I want to understand, he said, his voice steady. But I can't if you don't let me in. The tension coiled between them, and for a long moment, it seemed she might retreat again. But she didn't. It's not easy letting people in, she murmured, her eyes searching his. Trust is hard. I know, he said quietly. You don't have to trust me right away. But if you give me a chance, I can try to earn it. A fleeting smile tugged at her lips, one that illuminated her weary features for just a moment. You think you can fix me? Help me change everything? No, he replied, his heart determined. I can't fix you. But I can stand by you while you find a way to fix yourself. Something shifted in the air, as if the weight of her pain had lightened just a fraction. You're different, she stated, an observation that surprised him. Tom could feel the words dance, building a bridge. I'm just a guy trying to do a little good. Lila sighed, her shoulders relaxing slightly. And why would you waste your time on someone like me? Because I see you, he said, looking deep into her eyes. And honestly, I think we could all use a little kindness, forgiveness, and hope. Silence enveloped them again, and he could sense that this was the moment. Would she step further into this conversation? Could they leap across the chasm of their lives and forge something new? I don't want to be a burden, she murmured, a frightened innocence embedded in her tone. People always see me as an obligation or a ticking clock before I ruin their lives. I've done it before. You're not a burden, he insisted. You have value, all of us do, just by existing. We all have stories that matter. Besides, maybe this is an opportunity for both of us to find a new start. Lila's eyes shone like icy stars, sparkling with raw emotion. A new start, huh? So easy to say. But look at us now, he said, nodding toward every light reflected in the park around them, where snowflakes twinkled like jewels. We're sharing something real. Why not let it blossom? Lila's stare softened, an unlayering of years spent sheltered in fear. Okay, Tom. But no promises. None needed. They turned to face the illuminated pathway ahead, a tentative alliance formed in the heart of that frigid night. Tom knew that tomorrow would be a whirlwind of choices, a new beginning, whether with Lila, Max, Clara, or all of them together. As they walked through the park, the icy air invigorated him, pushing back the shadows of doubt that had waged war in his heart for so long. They found warmth in moments of laughter, as they talked about the decorations that awaited them. In the hope and camaraderie shared, he no longer felt like just a man stumbling through his own life. He felt like a father, a friend, someone capable of igniting magic even in places that felt completely void. So, as they walked, Tom knew tomorrow would come, and Lila's words had sparked a new light within him. He would carve a path back to Max, not just as a banker or corporate giant, but as a dad, ready to embrace every moment of joy. And as they each opened up, he realized they were not so different after all, two souls, wrapping each other in the comfort that they understood the weight of their stories, working to rewrite what the world had handed them. Tomorrow could bring them closer, one moment at a time. So, as they made their way back toward the cafe, hearts just beginning to unfurl, Tom felt something within him shift. Hope was no longer a flicker. It was a shimmering ember, growing bold and bright just like the Christmas lights sparkling overhead, drawing them through the winter wonderland towards a possible future, one where love truly conquered all. Tomorrow, they would embrace whatever lay ahead. They were ready. You need to subscribe now to join us for the next wonderful stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It really helps more than you know. And comment below, sharing your thoughts and reactions about this incredible journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support makes a difference.